Hi, it's Terri Gaines. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! For today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a frame out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. This idea is from Rhonda Wade. I am adding an easel to the back of the frame, along with providing you with some written instructions that you can download from my blog. So I'll talk more about these as I get started with the frame. My frame is going to be decorated with my 3 favorite stamp sets, the Framed for You, Waterfront, and Birds and Branches. And I will show you these after I make the frame. I am going to start right from the beginning with a full sheet of cardstock, how it is scored, how you apply the adhesive, and how you create the frame and the easel. And as I mentioned, I have instructions that you can download from my blog. So I'm going to start out by scoring the cardstock. The cardstock is scored 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2 from all 4 sides. I like using the Simply Scoring tool to do that. I find it very useful. You can use your trimmer with the scoring blade. I also am right-handed, so I hold the stylus in my right hand. I find it hard to cross over, to hold the cardstock and cross over and score the 1/2 inch, 1, 1.5, and 2. So I score on the opposite side at every 1/2 increment. So I just watch the 1/2 increments and I start at 10.5 and I go down 1, 2 at 10, 3 at 9.5, and 4 at 9. So I just watch the 1/2 increments and I count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate the cardstock. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rotate the cardstock. 1 at 8.5, 2 at 7.5, 3 at 7, and at 6.5. So that's how I score the cardstock. And you can tell I just put lotion on my fingers. Maybe it's not showing up on the camera, but it is showing up on the cardstock. But my videos are unedited. They most likely are going to contain bloopers. We just got started, but if I was doing this in a live event at a workshop, they would also contain bloopers. So I'm going to continue with my presentation. So the next step, and I have these all defined by step 1 we just achieved. Step 2 would be cutting out all 4 corners. And you'll take a paper snips and cut straight in, or you can use your trimmer. You can do either. And cut out all 4 corners. And I didn't quite meet theirs, so we'll cut that one out. And this, I'm gonna create this from the beginning to the end for you so you can see all the steps. It is a really fun frame to make. Once you make one, you are going to want to make several. And the beauty of this is you can use whatever colors you like. You can embellish it with your current products, with our new products. You will find lots of fun ideas for this. So I've got all 4 corners cut. So step 3 is making 2 cuts at 2 panels across from each other. And I have those identified in the red cutting here. And what I'm going to do is bring the Stamparatus, or not the Stamparatus, the Simply Scoring. And there's my first blooper that I can identify. So what it is you're going to take and score 1/2 inch in. I'm going to rotate it this way, 1/2 inch in on each of these side panels. And I'm going to go with the 2 smaller panels. You could do the 2 larger panels as long as they're 2 across from each other. And I'm going to take and just make a 1/2 inch increment from the edge of the cardstock here in, the edge of the cardstock here and in. Rotate it. Do the opposite side, 1/2 inch in here and 1/2 inch in here. Those are my marks, so I know where to cut the cardstock. And as I mentioned, this idea is from Rhonda, and she has other videos available that you can watch to make this. So now what I'm going to do is cut in per the instructions, cut in for the first 2 panels, panel 1, panel 2, and when I get to the score line of that panel, I'm going to go diagonally to the edge of the cardstock. And this is done with your paper snips. You could try it with your trimmer, but I just use my paper snips and do my diagonal cut. This needs to happen in all 4 of these locations that are cut with the, or at the 1/2 inch increment here. Hopefully that's making sense. So cut in the first 2 panels and do a diagonal cross over to this panel. Cut in 2 panels, a diagonal cut over to that panel. And I'm just going to trim this a little straighter. I can see that I didn't cut that very well on the score line. And there we have all of the cutting that we need to cut on the frame. The next thing we need to do is score or burnish all of the score lines. So what I'm going to do is fold in and use my bone folder to crease or burnish each one of these score lines. That's important to do before you start the assembly because you want them to naturally go into the form of the frame. So I start by the inside one and rotate or go out. You can definitely start from the first score line and go the other direction. So it's just important that we score all of these. The color cardstock I'm using is Early Espresso, and as I mentioned, you can use any color and achieve a beautiful frame. So here we go. We got all of those scored. So that's going to be as this, and that's going to represent this next photo that I've drawn. Now we have folded all the score lines into valley folds. We need to adhere a designer piece of paper in the center of the frame. That designer series paper is 4 inches by 6 1/4. So I am going to use a new designer series paper in the new annual catalog, and this can be applied with your regular adhesive. I'm going to use the Stamp and Seal, and I'm starting to love this adhesive. I found my best results are a very, very light touch and just a very slight check mark as I'm stopping my adhesive. And now what I'm going to do is place this right in the center of this main panel, like so. Okay, now we're going to put adhesive, the tear and tape, on the back side. So this is shown lightly, but the tear and tape is going to be on the back side. So this is the front. I'm going to flip this over. Tear and tape is our strongest adhesive that we sell, and you want to place that on this back or the first panel on each of the 4 sides and on the back side of the frame. So that's mentioned in the written instructions that are going to be available to download. And we'll just keep adding all 4 of these. This is called tear and tape because you can tear the tape, and a lot of times I do that, but in this case I'm just going to trim it. And when I put my tear and tape on, because it's very strong, I purposely don't put it right to the edge of my cardstock because sometimes I'm using that edge as my guide to get it in the right place. So I want some flexibility to move it before it sticks. If I put it really close to the end, because it's so strong, it's going to adhere maybe before I'm ready for it. So we have step 6 done, applying all the adhesive. So the next step is on side A. So I've identified side A and B, C, and D. So we start with side A, and what we're going to do is remove the adhesive and adhere it in a tube shape. So we're going to adhere it in a tube shape. So I'm going to lay it flat where I have panel 1, panel 2 on top, and 3 and 4 on the bottom. I'm going to take off my tear and tape. You can use your take your pick tool, or I grab my paper snips. Oh, I get all the backing off. Then what I do is I hold it like this, and then I can rotate it. And whoops, what I actually could do is, I haven't made one for a little while, but you could hold this down, hold the flap panel 1 and 2 on top of each other, rotate it down like here, and that actually worked out much better. So now I've created the tube. Tear and tape is the best adhesive because what it's going to do is hold it in place. Our cardstock is naturally going to want to go back to its original shape. So now what I'm going to do, this will be much easier, and to take the backing off, hold panel 1 and 2 on top of each other, and then you're going to fold it on the next score line. So you have 2 panels on top, and then that's going to work out perfect to get your tubes to create on the side A and side B. And now that it's whatever direction, it doesn't matter, they're identical, A and B. Now we're going to work on side C and D. Now this is going to come across, and we're going to have a little crossover here. There's a couple things you can do. You can apply some multi-purpose glue here. I actually like using the mini glue dots. I don't use the multi-adhesive glue as much as I probably could be. I find I like to grab the little mini glue dots, and I'm going to place a mini glue dot in each of these 4 corners. What's nice about the multi-purpose glue, it gives you some time to move things around, gives you a little bit of wiggle room before it actually adheres, and it's a permanent adhesive. These mini glue dots are very strong, and they will work out well too. So now what we need to do is repeat the same thing on these 2 sides, and you can start with either side, identified as side C or D. And now what we're going to do is bring this over, and this is going to be a little bit different because we need to adhere these corners, keep the tube square, and I'm going to bring this score line, this edge of the cardstock to that edge of that score line, and rotate it like I was going to that first time that I started to show you, and then magically an easier way popped in. So now I'm going to do is just rotate those, and what you do is you create that tube, adhere that tear and tape down, and then that mini glue dot is going to adhere to this side to keep your mitered edges down. So I'm going to do that again, take the tear and tape off, and I'm going to bring the 2 panels on the top, 2 are on the bottom, the edge of the cardstock right to that score line, and rotate it, keeping it tucked underneath there. And as it comes over, get those mitered corners to adhere. And there we have a frame. Isn't that awesome? You can make it any color, any designer series paper. What I've added on to Rhonda's frame is an easel. So in the instructions on the very bottom, the easel is a 2 by 11 piece of cardstock, scored at 4 1/4, 8 1/2, 9 1/2, and 10 1/2. I've already applied tear and tape here and dimensionals here. So what I'm going to do is take the backing off the tear and tape. I have scored these to be mountain fold, valley fold, and mountain fold. So you create your little fold like so, take your tear and tape off, bring this down, and now we've got an easel. Take the backings off the tear or the dimensionals, and I'm going to use the take your pick tool. So I've already applied these on here to save a little bit of video time, and just take the backings off with the take your pick tool. Now what I do to adhere this, I let my easel stand on the table, then I bring my frame to the easel, so I bring this and I kind of look at it to make sure it's centered. I keep the easel on the table, I keep my frame on the table, and then I just drop my easel on, and now I have an easel that will allow my frame to stand on a desk, on a mantle. So it works out really good. And the beauty is it flattens, so you can package this and gift it. So now I'm going to decorate my frame. And as I mentioned, you can decorate it however you would like with your favorite stamps. I'm using the frame from the Frame for You stamp set. I'm using some sentiments from the Waterfront stamp set. What I like about the Waterfront stamp set, it's got lots of different sentiments, but I can cut these apart and I can create my own stamp. So I have cut the Friends Make the apart here, and I've cut this one apart, and then I've added "Friends Make the World Brighter." And I thought this was perfect for a frame to give somebody. And I have some videos available for you to watch to show you how I have stamped the frame from Frame for You. I like using the Stamparatus. The Stamparatus is an amazing tool that works great for stamping the frame. In this video, if you found me via YouTube, there'll be a link to a video that shows you how I stamp the frame. And if you found me on my blog, there'll be a link there also. So what I'm going to do is attach this right on the frame. And I have Very Vanilla. I've bordered the frame with a piece of Early Espresso, and I use soft suede for my ink pad color. So now what I'm going to do is take one of the branches from the Birds and Branches bundle. I had mentioned Birds and Branches are one of my favorite stamps also. It comes with a coordinating die set. So I'm cut out the branch out of Mossy Metal cardstock, and I'm going to apply this across the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to use mini glue dots to attach these. So what I'm going to do is bring a little bit of this, or edges of this greenery piece to some dimensionals. And let's see, I'm going to bring it right underneath this one. Because what I want to make sure is I only put them behind something that's going to attach to the frame. So now what I'm going to do, I have two on here, and that should be sufficient. I'm going to lay this across and place this on for decorations. And the couple more things I want to do. I want to add a bird. So I've already stamped this little bird from the Birds and Branches stamp set. And I also have a video for this, being one of my favorite stamps. I've used it for many, many projects. And if you go to my blog, you'll also find other projects using this little bird. So I'm going to attach it with, a couple dimensionals. And depending how you want that to sit, I'm going to just sit it right here. And the last touch I'm going to do is add some embellishments to those three locations for the berries. I'm going to use the basic pearls. I have colored these in with the dark cherry cobbler blend. These are alcohol markers, so you can color right on your pearl. If you're using the brush tip, just go really light because you don't want to fray the edge of the tip, and just go very light, and then give it just a little bit of time to dry. We have a take your pick tool that works great for picking up the small ones, but I find I have better success with these larger ones if I use my paper snips kind of like a little pliers. And pick those up, make sure I keep the adhesive on the back. If you dig into it, you could pull the adhesive off. You just want to make sure you keep that adhesive on the back of the pearls and attach the pearls. And there we have the decorated frame using the Frame for You, Waterfront, and Birds and Branches stamp set. As I mentioned, I have a flyer you can download, and there's a direct link in my blog and the comments of the video for this blog post that you can download it, along with the blog post that will give you all the supply list and for all of the supplies I used. And as I mentioned, you can change the colors, change the stamps, and create a special project using your product. Thanks for stopping by. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click the red box under the video. I hope you enjoyed creating this project with me. Stay safe and stay healthy.